Jason.
What's up, Kareem?
Fourth game in 8 days, I do believe. How's the bodies holding up, and just kind
Recording
of
in progress.
from a stamina and health kind of perspective, cramming a very busy period. How's everybody hanging in?
Yeah, super busy. We're trying to be very mindful in between games. We do have to start to look at these minutes as they rack up with Minnesota, Vegas, and Dallas second time around coming. So that may reflect in our rotations. Right now, we're pretty much kind of staying with what we have, but then really trying to be super mindful of those off days and just like how much we're asking of them physically or mentally, to be honest.
Um, it's interesting you say you went to rotations, and kind of brought me right where I was going to ask also. You were kind of, after post game, you're kind of talking about kind of being farther along in the year and kind of
Yeah,
getting more clarity about
yeah.
that stuff. I'm curious, how do you see kind of Aaliyah's progression and how she kind of fits in everything? Just kind of the last couple games, kind of minutes has been trending down a little bit. Just kind of how do you see her fit in everything at the moment?
I mean, she definitely fits. I mean, she's gonna play. There's no question about that. In that particular game, and maybe the game before, although um, Chicago, I thought she gave us like great minutes. I remember calling her out after the game to the team, and Atlanta, it just wasn't clicking in terms of like what we were trying to do on the court, and honestly how fast and quick they were, and that was I'd probably throw Steph in there as well. So that was more of a game time. That wasn't. I'm hoping that's not like necessarily a trend down or a trend up with any of our players. Um, we know what Aaliyah can bring. We know what Emily can bring. We know what Steph can bring. Obviously, Kiki and Kira are starting right now, so it's really just trying to figure out like the right opponent matchup, to be perfectly frank, and strategy wise. But I think the known quantities, like we feel better about like what they're able to bring. And so in my mind, it's not a game plan to restrict Aaliyah in any way. Definitely want to get her out there, and then let the game play out, and then obviously be aware of our opponent. If they go small ball, makes it a little challenging for us to extend our fours out in space, and there's some things that we got to work through to try to get the dub.
And just one last one for me. I was looking at 3 point volume right now. You guys are bottom in the league,
Yeah.
actually, and we talk about, we've talked so much about threes being a big part of the system. Do you want to see that go up? And I guess, how do you evaluate where you guys are, kind of from behind the arc, and how many you're getting up, and that part of the offense?
Yeah, I would say that that's definitely we want to we want to shoot more threes. We want to make more threes, but we can't turn a and I'm not, your question isn't suggesting this, but we're not necessarily going to turn Kira overnight into a reliable three-point shooter. There's some development here with our roster that we embrace. We're running too. If you look at some of the offseason moves that we had. I mean, Van Loo, Samuelson, Atkins, those were high volume 3-point shooters. I mean, just call it what it is. And so, we don't necessarily have that. I do like what we have, but certainly 3-point shooting would complement us both through finding a Steph, finding a Sonia, finding a Emily, finding a Lucy is put her name on that 3-point shooting, finding them a bit more. But also, it's just kind of the roster that we have too, and trying to play to our strengths. Which, on the flip side, we're a pretty potent team in the paint. But your question is spot on, because to balance and really be terrific against really strong teams, you do need both. And right now we're not consistently able to get the 3-point shooting, and but we're doing what we can.
Hey, Sydney. We've talked before about how good Sonia's been defensively for you guys, and I'm just curious to drill down on that a little bit. What is it about her skill set or her instincts that stand out to you as particularly advanced for a rookie?
I think her mindfulness, like frankly, I mean, she obviously has athletic gifts. She's got good size. She can move well. She's quick. And although she's not like full of muscles, I mean, the young lady just knocks down and gets back up, like pops back up and keeps playing. Her emotional stability, all these things. But I think her mindfulness, like she really wants to be a two-way player, and so she studies the game. She listens to all the little things that myself or any of our coaches are saying in terms of those defensive tactics. Just her approach. I think a lot of young players want to establish themselves offensively. At no point in time have I ever heard her talk about her game without talking about defense. And I think that mindset is a great place to start, and we see it. So she can have an impact on the game. She has been solid scoring, but she can always have an impact on the game defensively because she wants to. And I think that's driving what you're seeing right now.
And then with her and Kiki, you've talked about how they're both kind of, getting more comfortable the second time through, seeing a team, right, getting more familiar. What are some ways that you can tell, like, oh, they're recognizing this, or they're getting more comfortable because they've seen that before? What does
They,
that look like?
they just kind of they know what you're gonna tell them before you tell them, because they've seen it and felt it themselves. So it's our job to just remind and kind of make those points on different players in terms of their personnel or their tendencies, but they already know it, and I think that's experience, right? That's they're starting to add to their own toolkit in that regard, their own understanding, and so to be able to have that second nature on the court is different than not having experienced it. I think that's the gap that we're starting to close, but still exists between some of the more experienced teams in the league.
Last one for me, totally different topic. I'm just curious, first time as a head coach for this team, how are you kind of approaching the coaches' challenges? What's your general strategy there? How willing are you, to burn one early? How much does like a player being like, Coach, I didn't foul, like
Yeah.
affect you? Those sorts of things.
They know not to come to me too much in the first half. I'll just say that right now. We've established that, but I do appreciate their feedback, especially in the second half, and then we obviously have Caleb and Christian who are working out the sidelines for us for some video stuff. So between them and our players and the moment, time, and situation, yeah, just we have a game plan and trying to hold those for critical moments. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we do with that.
You've had Shakira and Kiki be in the starting lineup 2 games in a row. How are you seeing them kind of playing off each other and being able to make reads with one another of people that have some skill sets that are comparable, but
Yeah.
still bring different things?
Yeah. I would say one thing I enjoy is like they look for each other. I can kind of see those moments where Kira's looking for high lows, and if it's not there, we're encouraging her, swing it to the 45 and or find others, and Kiki the same. So yeah, that takes reps. I think they get those reps in practice. They get those reps with other players. I think we're seeing it on display intentionally as starters. But yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice, and I guess I just say there's so much more season to go that I still feel like it's early days, but just happy about how they're healthy and joyful and ready for today.
Does anything change? I don't want to say change for the offense, but are there different things that you guys focus on when you have a big in there with Shakira and Kiki as opposed to having Steph? Because Steph would be out along the 3-point line, spread you guys out a little bit more. Shakira, not necessarily that type of player
Yeah.
for you guys. Is the focus change on things?
I would say the execution changes dramatically. The focus, knowing that Steph is a floor spacer, knowing that Emily, when she plays the four, is a floor spacer, you have to know that. Especially our guards, coaching staff, we have to know that. And then, yeah, when you have two players who can play dominantly inside, especially in one-on-one situations, that execution, now you have two opportunities to look for those moments and see how the defense reacts, knowing that you don't want them to try to be splitting double teams and other things like that. You have to coach them to get off the ball when they draw attention. But having two of those options in our first five is a dramatic change from an execution standpoint. But it doesn't necessarily change our focus because we've always tried to, when Kiki's out there, put her in really good spots. Kira out there, put her in really good spots. Now they're sharing the court, so you just kind of merge those two.
Hi, Coach. I'm wondering if there's any weaknesses that Dallas has or potential matchups that you're trying to capitalize on tonight.
Jeez, if I had any of them, I would not tell you. Um, I, I can applaud what they do well. I mean, they're very very good offensively, very good. Paige has had a wonderful start to her career. Enrique is a superstar. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So between the two of them, we are. Uh, there's a lot to deal with there. You know, we just coming off a team in Atlanta and how good they were offensively, and I'm seeing a lot in that regard from Dallas, and also have a healthy respect for their offensive rebounding and how well they get out in transition. So, you know, I kind of lead with what teams do well and trying to mitigate or neutralize that a bit, and that's where my mind is right now. Thank you all. All right.